please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. You're watching India Business Hour Plus. Now let's get to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. The government is considering doling out more SOPs to domestic companies in order to encourage them to make in India. We learned that the DIPP and the Niti Aayog are considering making changes to its public procurement order. Remember, last year the DIPP did come out with this order after the cabinet cleared a policy to promote domestic content in government as well as the PSU purchases. Let's bring in Rituparna Bhuyan, who broke that story earlier today. Ritu, what are you picking up from your sources and what's the fine print of the changes that are likely to be made?
Absolutely. You know, the analysis that was done by Niti Aayog had shown that that PSUs and several government departments were actually circumventing the norms and were giving preference to imported products and foreign companies in their tenders and contracts. The Niti Aayog wants to stop that, and it has suggested that there should be no conditions like, let's say, minimum net worth or a certain amount of experience in giving out a service or manufacturing a product. Such conditions should not be applicable to companies based in India. It has also suggested that there should be a price preference given to India-based companies in government tenders and PSU tenders and contracts. And last but not the least, the Niti Aayog is going to actually meet the procurement heads of several government organizations and PSUs to press upon this point that Indian companies need to be given preference as far as government contracts are concerned. At the same time, DIPP is also not behind in this. It has internally discussed giving price preference to Indian companies in government contracts. And last but not the least, DIPP is also planning to have a dashboard through which it can actually monitor which government contract is going to what government what company, and if that company is an Indian company. We'll have to basically now wait and see if the government is able to have more stricter norms that gives preference to Indian companies as far as government contracts are concerned.
Okay, Ritu, thanks for joining in with those details. From one exclusive to another, the government today moved closer to delivering on one of its budget commitment, that is ensuring minimum support price of at least 1.5 times the production cost for kharif crops. Now, we learned from sources that a group of ministers led by Home Minister Rajnath Singh met today to discuss the contours of the new MSP regime. Ashpreet Sethi is in fact here with all the details. Ashpreet, what are you picking up? What exactly are the key recommendations made by the panel as far as the MSP pricing is concerned?
Yes, absolutely. It's shaping up now. In fact, what we pick up from sources is that the Rajnath-led group of ministers had met today to finalize as to how will the MSP regime be implemented. Now, remember, the big ticket announcement that was done during the budget was that 1.5 times the cost of production of crops is what farmers will get as far as the new MSP regime is concerned. Now, what we pick up from sources is that Niti Aayog had proposed 3 ways in which the MSP regime can kick in. However, the GOM has gone ahead and cleared about 2 proposals. The first one, of course, being that as far as market assessment is concerned, that's the kind of money that will be given if states suffer any losses. Center will be compensating. The second formula, of course, being that as far as procuring of grains is concerned, that will continue as far as states are concerned. But of course, the center will directly go ahead and compensate farmers if they are forced to sell their crops at distressed prices. So we'll have to wait and see what will the states opt for, because that is the kind of formula that has come in. Cabinet note will be sought for this MSP regime soon.
Okay, fair enough. That's a very crucial movement as far as the MSP regime is concerned. Thanks, Ashpreet, for taking us through that. But let's talk about court action then. The Supreme Court has refused to stay its order barring immediate arrest simply on the basis of a complaint filed under the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Act. However, the court will hear the centre's review petition after 10 days. Let's bring in Ashpreet Kumar, who was in the courtroom today. Ashpreet, take us through the exact highlights of the hearing and what grounds were argued today.
Well, the apex court talking tough, not giving in to the demands of the centre and certainly not staying its judgment on the SC/ST Act. Keep in mind that the Supreme Court was hearing a review petition by the government against that very judgment. And what's interesting is that that judgment, just for the benefit of our viewers, what it did effectively is that it disallowed provisions of the SC/ST Act. Under these provisions, an immediate arrest was to take place, immediate arrest and prosecution would take place upon the mere filing of a complaint. Those provisions, importantly, have been disallowed which sparked nationwide protests. Nonetheless, the Attorney General appearing for the government argued before the Apex Court that there are nationwide protests, there is a law and order situation, there is almost a crisis-like situation, and said that on account of these concerns, it's important that the Apex Court at least consider putting its judgment in abeyance till the review application is heard in final. But the Apex Court did not quite buy into that, wasn't impressed by these arguments of the Attorney General. The Apex Court, in fact, observed on the contrary that those who are rioting on the ground, in fact, have been misled. They probably haven't read the judgment. The Apex Court also observed that they're not against the act per se, they're not against a particular community, but are seeking the guarantee of liberty to those who are innocent. It also went on to observe that a mere allegation should not result in automatic arrest or prosecution. Nonetheless, the Apex Court stopping right there, not giving in to the demand as far as the stay application is concerned, and the Supreme Court now deferring this case by another 10 days, and the hearing will resume 10 days later, and that's when the government is likely to make its case again. But for now, no relief coming in for the centre. Back to you.
Okay, fair enough. No relief for the centre, and we will have the closure as far as this case is concerned in another 10 days. We will take a short break on that note. But up next, Paytm Mall raises 3,000 crore rupees. How will it use the funds? And exclusive interaction with the company's management when we return. Welcome back. Let's get to the market action of the day then. Weak global cues failed to dampen the bulls on the Lal Street as most indices ended with gains. So let's pull up the Nifty for you. The Nifty opened lower and traded in a range but broke out in the last hour to end with gains of about 0.3%. The Sensex rallied more than 100 points. Broader markets outperformed today, so mid-caps and banks rallied more than 0.7%. It was largely at the back of last hour trade gains that were seen. So bulls clearly staging a comeback. But on to Wall Street, where the Amazon stock is on a roller coaster ride, all thanks to President Donald Trump. Trump has regularly attacked the company and its promoter, Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post. In a tweet put out just a few minutes ago, Trump said, and I'm quoting now, "I am right about Amazon costing the United States Post Office massive amounts of money for believing their delivery boy." Trump went on to say, and I'm quoting again, "Amazon should pay these costs plus and not have them borne by the American taxpayer. Many millions of dollars. PO leaders don't have a clue, or do they?" End of tweet. The Amazon stock immediately lost over 50 points, taking the Nasdaq lower along with it, but it has recovered since then. So has the Nasdaq, which is now almost flat in trade. But back home, Japan's SoftBank Group and existing investor Alibaba are investing around 3,000 crore rupees in Paytm Mall. This deal values Paytm Mall close to 12,300 crore rupees, or roughly about $1.9 billion, giving it the coveted unicorn status. Paytm Mall is positioning itself now as an O2O, or offline to online platform, and sees a large part of this fundraise going towards educating and bringing India's 15 million small business owners online. CNBC TV18 Sana Dhanagara caught up with Paytm Mall COO Amit Sinha to understand the company's focus.
We are around 75,000 and we are aggressively acquiring more stores. By the end of the next year, we expect it to be somewhere around 3 times in terms of the number of stores that we have done. And the focus is on bringing, till now, a lot of the mobile appliances, laptop sellers are already on board. We are also extending significantly into the fashion segment, and then we will also expand majorly into the FMCG segment. So essentially all those verticals of commerce that exist in the real world are something that we will be mapping onto our platform. So we want to cover the complete consumer spend basket, and that means that there is a daily need segment, there is a impulse purchase of a fashion and other kind of stuff, or there is a well thought out purchase like even a bike, appliance, mobile, a laptop, and all that kind of stuff.
All right. So in terms of categories, you're saying that it's going to be equal guns in terms of equal focus across them, or is it going to be certain categories that you're leaning towards, groceries, for instance, maybe?
So honestly, if you really ask me, if you look at the overall sort of technology-enabled commerce in this country, nobody has been able to solve much beyond mobiles and certain subcategories of fashion, maybe Western wear both for men and women, and that's where bulk of the a bulk of the business today happens in the e-commerce world. So we obviously are going very aggressively across other categories like FMCG, which is very small right now today, appliances, which is again very small in terms of the online penetration. So a lot of these categories are something which we are very aggressively pursuing.
Okay, moving on to another exclusive conversation. As we step into FY19, fast food major McDonald's has decided to go the healthy way. The company has decided to introduce the good food story. Under this, you can now eat burgers and fries which have less sodium and oil content. Priya Sheth caught up with the vice chairman of Westlife Development, Amit Jatia, who says that McDonald's Aloo Tikki burger is now a balanced meal. Listen in.
The whole idea is that the last 10 quarters we've had excellent results, and they are backed with putting the consumer first and sort of shaping their journey as well. So taking a leadership position on wholesome and nutritious food is also a responsibility that we've taken for McDonald's in India. And while the journey started a few years ago, I think the culmination of that has been amazing. To make sure that we now have whole grain bread as an option for our wraps, reducing sodium content by 20%, particularly the oil reduction in mayonnaise, bringing up to 11% reduction in burger calories, taking away preservatives from our patties. These things are all, I would say, foundational. And of course, the culmination of all this has made Aloo Tikki a balanced meal as per recommendations of the National Institute of Nutrition.
Do you think it would cost you 3 to 5% more?
Like I said, we don't share that data, and that's not been the motivation or the driver. I think the focus has been to give consumers a product that they feel good about eating at McDonald's. So we've really not worn the cost lens at it, but whatever the costs have been, we've been able to absorb it, and it's not sort of hurting us.
What's the kind of trajectory that you're seeing for FY19 as we enter into the new financial year?
That's a challenging question because we've just completed the year. But all I can say is that, I've mentioned in our last earnings call that essentially I'm quite bullish about where we are heading. All the work we've done around the platforms at McDonald's, along with the trajectory change from a consumer point of view, is keeping us in strong, same-store sales growth sort of area. I had mentioned that I expect the same for the next 3 or 4 quarters. So, we generally, our guidance has been mid to high single digit from a 2022 sort of direction. So we will stay in good territory.
And 500 stores by 2022, is that what you stick
Between
with?
400 to 500, investment of 800 to 1,000 crores.
Okay, so you do have some reason to skip your diet now with a Mac. But for now, we'll take a very short commercial break. Coming up on the other side.
You've got to be passionate about what you want to be in life.
What are Master Blaster Sachin Tendulkar's mantras for life? A special conversation when we return. Yes, with India Business Hour Plus, let's get to a special conversation. Cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar and Arvind Lifestyle Brands are betting big on their joint venture brand True Blue. My colleague Priya Sheth caught up with the Master Blaster himself and also with Alok Dubey of Arvind Lifestyle Brands to talk about their plan for the business, which was set up in 2016. But it wasn't only about business. The cricketing hero also shared some of his life mantras with Priya. Here's an excerpt of that interview.
Been involved as far as designing is concerned quite a bit. There have been number of meetings where we've gone back and forth. Certain designs we've agreed on the first go. Certain designs have taken some time, so it's not something which has just happened overnight.
Alok, when the brand started out 2 years ago, that time in terms of vision and growth, there was a target of about 200 to 300 crores over the next 5 years. Are we on track in terms of store openings, in terms of revenue growth? Where does it stand?
Yeah, so in the first horizon, we have been focusing very well on expansion of our distribution network, and I can proudly say that we are doing very well on that front. The brand is growing almost 100% in retail sales, and in terms of distribution expansion, even a lot more.
What is your advice to sportsmen who want to enter into the field in terms of what India has given you and how you think they can really put forth that spirit in the industry?
Well, I think for me it starts from your heart. You've got to be passionate about what you want to be in life.
I don't like calling it profession, it's passion. So you have to be a passionate sportsman, and it is truly an honor to represent the nation. There is no greater feeling than that, and there is no greater satisfaction than, you know, achieving something for the nation. And that is what I would ask all the sportsmen to go out and chase their dreams, because we all aspire to be somebody in life, and then that is where the journey starts. But you wake up and you start chasing your dreams.
Your second innings has been full of new challenges, new spheres, new domains that you've ventured into. But of course, at the core of it remains what you're truly passionate about. So in terms of your second innings, do you still follow sports? Do you still follow cricket? Do you still routinely keep time in your schedule?
I follow and I play as well. You know, be it badminton, table tennis. I follow tennis, football, hockey, kabaddi I've been part of. So, you know, there are a lot of sports that I enjoy doing all this. I love going to Wimbledon. I also watch Formula 1 races. So, all in all, I think for me it's simple. Once a sportsman, always a sportsman at heart.
It's not just cricket, there are several areas that Sachin Tendulkar is committed to. But let's move from one legend to another. Christopher Nolan, Hollywood's legendary filmmaker who has given the world some iconic films like Inception as well as The Dark Knight, was in Mumbai over the last weekend. The ace director was here to promote preservation of film. CNN News 18's Rajiv Masan caught up with Nolan to talk about his films and his fight to keep films alive.
Chris, Shivendra, Tassita, you're all, of course, champions of film, of celluloid. And the reason you're here, of course, is to talk about the significance of film preservation and the importance of keeping the format of photochemical film alive. It's estimated that roughly 70% of films shot in the silent era in the US don't exist anymore. It's true of India as well. Our first talkie, Alamara, doesn't exist. Our first film ever made, Raja Harishchandra, only in part. What needs to change?
We've had 100 years of shooting on film, and I think each era underestimates the importance and the difficulty of preserving the films that are being made, the history of film, and the films that are being made today. And film is a mature technology. It has an incredibly important place in the future of imaging, and that's really what these events are about, getting together different people from within the film industry and talking about how we are going to find a way to maintain the infrastructure that we need, because film is a vital part, not just of the history of cinema, but on an ongoing basis.
You shot Dunkirk on 70mm film entirely, yes. A chunk of it using IMAX cameras, and many cinemas around the world were, of course, happy to dust off their old projectors and screen the films in that 70mm format. What were the learnings from that?
Well, really, the learning from that was that it's totally possible to do it. It's very practical. Audiences came out in large numbers for those screens in particular. There was definitely an appetite for a photochemical presentation, large format presentation. Really the takeaway was, with that, we're offering audiences a reason to go to the movies. Right. We're not offering them a slightly bigger version of their own TV sets. We're offering a completely different technology, and one that has a great history and has a tremendous capacity for emotionally involving the audience in the story that you're trying to tell. It's a very powerful tool.
As the legend himself talking about what drives him and what his inspiration is for filmmaking. We'll have to wrap up this show. Thank you so much for watching. From all of us here, good night.